JD Vance absolutely humiliates fake news CNN anchor Kaitlan Collins after she tries to back him into some kind of corner, paint him as some kind of evil guy who wants the president to wage a coup on their own government. Yep, yeah, not kidding. We're gonna get right into it, guys. It's gonna be a fun one. But first, everybody, please make sure you like our video, share it around, and yes, subscribe to the Resist the Mainstream YouTube channel. That way we can keep pumping out these great videos, guys, and we really appreciate it. And for those of you who have subscribed, thank you so much, guys. Seriously, we love you. As always, I'm your host, Darian. Let's get right into the video.
You're a Yale-educated attorney, and I want to get your take on what we saw happen last week, those immunity arguments before the Supreme Court, where Trump's team, his attorney, argued that a president could order the military to stage a coup and to have their political opponent assassinated and be immune from prosecution unless this theory that they were impeached and then convicted by the Senate. Do you share the view that presidents are basically above the law?
Look, Kaitlan, I think we have to be careful about imputing words into the president's attorneys that they didn't actually say. What the president's attorney said is that what the president's attorney said, Kaitlan, to be clear, is that there is a checks and balances system in our Constitution. Now, some things the president does, private acts, are liable to criminal penalties, but most of the things that the president does in their official duties, we have a system of impeachment, we have a system of checks and balances, the legislative branch that I'm a member of, the judicial branch. I did not read the president's attorneys as saying that the president could order a coup. The president's attorneys are saying that the constitutional checks and balances system would address that problem, and I think that's an important distinction.
But let me stop you right there, because I listened to this. It's John Sauer, Trump's attorney, and when he was asked by one of the justices if the president could order the military to stage a coup and would it count as an official act, meaning he couldn't be prosecuted for it, he said it would depend on the circumstances. I mean, what circumstances warrant a president ordering the military to stage a coup?
She calls herself a journalist, but I mean, I almost don't want to say it. It's so obvious. She's clearly a left-wing activist. Also, I love how our show's called The Source with Kaitlan Collins. Yeah, not a source I would trust, but you know, maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm crazy. I don't know. You just look at her smug expression on her face. She thinks she's so clever, and she's just not. You remember when Trump called her out during that town hall and said, "You're a real nasty woman, aren't you?" Good times, good times.
Well, first of all, he did say it depends on the circumstances, so that opens up a whole lot of avenue for context there. But more importantly, Kaitlan, he's just saying that would count as an official act.
But that's an official act in your view, too?
Finish the answer to the question, Kaitlan. An official act, there are a number of checks and balances in our system. There's the impeachment process. There's the budgeting authority that Congress has. There are a number of ways where Congress has a check and balance control over the President of the United States. All he's saying is that the criminal liability procedures that exist in this country don't cover the President's official acts. And by the way, how could anybody disagree with that, Kaitlan? Should Barack Obama be prosecuted for killing an American citizen via a drone strike? There are a number of examples in American history where if you apply the standard, the lawfare standard of the Biden administration against Donald Trump, it would make the presidency impossible to actually execute the law.
Yeah,
to answer the Obama question, yes, he should. And he's actually the only president in U.S. history to commit an extrajudicial killing. And he's the only president in United States history who has committed an extrajudicial killing of an American citizen. So, I mean, he probably should be tried for that, frankly. But I do get Vance's point, though, and it's obviously correct. And you're going to see how Kaitlan is going to keep on trying her best to spin it as some kind of evil Republican conservative coup or something.
In the name of taking down their political opponent, Kaitlan, these guys are really pushing a legal theory that I think would destroy the presidency, whether a Democrat or Republican was in charge.
Well, I don't think Jack Smith is running for office, but on what you're saying, you're basically saying that if the president orders the military to stage a coup, you believe the only remediation for that is that he can be impeached or that Congress can restrict the budget?
Well, Kaitlan, first of all, you're dealing with hypotheticals here that are completely outside the bounds of this particular situation. Donald Trump did not order a coup, despite the fact that a lot of media people say that he did on January the 6th. He encouraged people to protest peacefully. And of course, most people on January 6th did protest peacefully. What I'm saying is that you have to have some measure of liability for the official acts of presidency of the United States. And the way to create a check and balance on that system is what the Constitution prescribes here. You can't have prosecutors many of whom, of course, are deeply embedded with the Democratic Party, trying to destroy the life of a former president who's now running for president because they think that they have a better argument for what that president should have done. You can have a political disagreement with Donald Trump, and that's totally reasonable. You shouldn't destroy the presidency in the process. And I think that's what a lot of the Biden administration Department of Justice is trying to do.
But you essentially are agreeing that the presidents should not be able to be prosecuted. Let me ask you something else, because
No, actually, he wasn't saying that at all. It's just totally dishonest hack and a liar. It's incredible. He very clearly said, in personal matters, presidents can be prosecuted. And then she says at all. Okay, such a hack.
as I mentioned, there is an open question of who Donald Trump will pick to be his vice presidential candidate. We just heard him talking about Marco Rubio. You're hosting a fundraiser with him in your home state of Ohio later this month. I know you say that you two haven't discussed the vice presidency directly, but you said you'd certainly be open to it if he did offer it to you. Considering that, does it give you any pause whatsoever about taking that job when you see how he treated his last vice president?
Well, Kaitlan, first of all, again, I haven't talked to Donald Trump about becoming vice president. I think it's important to support President Trump as Republicans because I think he was a good president. And I think that he made the country more prosperous. And I think he made the world more peaceful. What gives me pause, Kaitlan, is another 4 years of Biden's administration where he's opened the borders and where you have effectively a conflict, a major world conflict in nearly every continent in the world.
But my question was not about President Biden. It's about President Trump.
Well, look, it's fundamentally about President Biden because if you're comparing the two records of these presidents and asking, who do I want to be president? It's very clearly that I want Donald Trump to be president. And I understand that there are a lot of things that people like you disagree that he did, but I think fundamentally he was a good president. He accomplished a lot for the country. And the question fundamentally for our country is, do we want 4 more years of Joe Biden or do we want 4 more years of the peace and prosperity of Donald Trump?
Boom. I like that little subtle zinger there. People like you. Exactly, Kaiten. Also, it's hilarious that she says, well, I'm asking about Trump, not Biden. It's not about Biden. Yeah, it's only about Biden when you want to kiss his you-know-what, isn't it, Kaitlan? Let's not forget what she was saying right before the debate about how Trump is prepped so badly and he's never good at prep and he's such a stooge and he's going to do terribly, but Biden has taken copious notes and he's ready. If by copious notes you mean that the Democrat establishment fed him some of the questions and answers in advance to try to prep him, I suppose so. Yeah, he prepared in that sense. But needless to say, Kaitlan Collins' pre-debate analysis about how Donald Trump was so unprepared and Biden was just ready to go, ooh, that did not age well.
That to me is an easy question.
The last time I checked, President Biden wasn't approving of the chance to hang his vice president and did not call his vice president when their life was in danger on Capitol Hill, something that Mike Pence himself has testified to. So my question is, does it give you any pause to be his vice president given how he has treated Mike Pence?
Kaitlan, I'm extremely skeptical that Mike Pence's life was ever in danger. I think politics people like to really exaggerate things from time to time.
I know a lot of folks in the Democratic Party, Senator.
A lot of folks in the Democratic Party, Kaitlan, act as if January the 6th was the scariest moment of their lives. I think, look, January 6th was a bad day. It was a riot. But the idea that Donald Trump endangered anyone's lives when he told them to protest peacefully, it's just absurd. And the entire legal basis of this prosecution of Donald Trump
but they
from
were
Jack
chanting
Smith,
that they wanted to hang him.
Look, Kaitlan, did a few people say some bad things? Sure, but do we blame Donald Trump for every bad thing that's ever been said by a participant in American democracy? I think that's an absurd standard. And look, Kaitlan, I know you're worried, and I think justifiably so, about
this isn't about me,
threats
Senator.
to
I'm
American...
asking questions about you and how you would feel about this.
I'm trying to answer the question. I appreciate if you let me. We know that there are threats to American democracy. I think the biggest threat to American democracy, Kaitlan, is that the Biden administration is trying to prevent Donald Trump from campaigning and taking his case to the American people, even as they hide their own candidate.
That's presiding over that case. The Biden administration is not preventing Donald Trump from campaigning. He just did 2 campaign events tonight.
Oh, so Donald Trump did campaign events in one night. Therefore, all the times that he has to waste his time at these bogus trial dates don't count from taking away his campaign. Does she even realize how transparently dishonest she looks? It's pretty obvious. As far as the comment about, well, it's a new person in New York, so it's got nothing to do with Biden goes, okay. How about special counsel Jack Smith? Last I checked, that guy was a Biden lackey appointed by Merrick Garland, who is Biden's attorney general. Is he not interfering? Yeah, it's not like it's only New York that's prosecuting Trump.
This is a really important point, Kaitlan. Who is the number 3 person from the Biden Department of Justice who went to work for the New York prosecutor just months before he brought this case against Donald Trump? You can't have people moving from the Biden administration to prosecute Donald Trump in New York and say it has nothing to do with the Biden administration, especially when the judge is the Biden administration donor.
Attorneys go from the Justice Department to local DA's offices all the time. That's not that unusual. I mean, you're an attorney, you know that.
It's pretty
you probably
unusual.
Have colleagues who went to Yale with you that did that.
It's pretty unusual for the number 3 person in the Department of Justice to then go to the New York prosecutor's office to bring a bogus case against Donald Trump, and then to have the judge presiding over that case to be a donor to Biden-Harris. I think that's pretty unusual, Kaitlan, and really is, aside from your views or anyone else's views about Donald Trump, this is a real threat to Americans' trust in the legal system. If you look at polling, even a lot of folks who are going to vote for Joe Biden think that the lawfare against Donald Trump is bogus. We're destroying faith in the American system of law and order to try to bring down Joe Biden's political opponent. That's a threat to democracy.
It's a jury of his peers that indicted him and a jury of his peers that are in that room right now and will decide this case. Senator JD Vance, thank you for joining us here on The Source.
Thanks for having me.
Her smugness is just so frustrating and annoying, but whatever. A jury of his peers indicted him, and they're going to judge him. His peers. Really? Okay. Yeah. They're literally ODing on TDS, but, you know, it's just an equivalent peer. No big deal. All right. Well, guys, we hope you enjoyed the clip. Please be sure to comment below. Let us know what you liked, what you want to see next, and we'll see you guys again very soon. Thanks, and God bless.